Welcome to Next Economy Now. I'm your host, Andrew Baskin. The goal of this interview series is to highlight the leaders who are taking a regenerative, bioregional, democratic, diverse, transparent, and whole systems approach to using business as a force for good. In this episode of Next Economy Now, I interview Gretchen Grani, Regeneration and Sustainability Cebadora at Guayaki. Gretchen has directed corporate sustainability and philanthropy for two natural products companies. Her prior experience includes managing an environmental conservation nonprofit and serving on numerous nonprofit boards, environmental consulting, writing about ecopsychology, and volunteering at a St. Helena winery for 15 years. Gretchen is an advocate for personal regeneration and regenerative business as a solution to reversing climate change and solving the world's biggest social and environmental problems. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Gretchen Grani. Gretchen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So excited to have you on the show. We met recently at a B Corp gathering, the B Corp Bay Area Build event. And it was just such a pleasure to connect with you there. And I've just been really looking forward to having you on the show since then. So thank you for joining us. And just to jump right in, I'd love to know, where do you call home and why?
Well, first let me say I like this question. The way it's phrased, it shifts my automatic mindset of viewing home as my place of residence to home as more of a sense and a feeling. And so with that in mind, I'd say that the people and places I love and that give me comfort are my home. So the people I love the most feel like home when I'm with them, no matter where I am. And I'd also call San Francisco Bay Area my home. I've been here for most of my life and I love it. You know, the natural beauty and the water, the bay, the green spaces, and all the creativity that's going on here. It's a great place to be.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a huge fan of the Bay.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm curious, what would you like to share with our listeners about your professional journey and how you landed in your current role at Guayaki?
Sure. Well, my title is Regeneration and Sustainability Cebadora. Cebadora is someone who serves yerba mate. And so we all have that service mindset. And our titles are all kind of funky like that. So it's pretty fun to be here. But, my journey, my professional journey has been a long and not always an easy path. I struggled a lot in my 20s and my 30s to find my purpose. And I tried out a lot of different jobs. I learned a lot about what I didn't like, but I've always been a seeker and I've never stopped. Along the way, I had glimpses of what I wanted to do. I remember being in graduate school and taking this class in ecological restoration. It was my favorite class. I was really passionate about the subject, but I couldn't figure out how to turn it into a career path because it was a practice for engineers or scientists, and there was no field of sustainability yet. And so I did a lot of wandering from environmental planning consulting to government, entrepreneurial pursuits. I spent 10 years in nonprofits. And then the dots, they finally started connecting when I worked for a natural food company and I was doing corporate giving. And they allowed me to start a sustainability department in conjunction with corporate giving. And that's when I really started loving the work that I do, because I felt like I was making a really meaningful impact and I just felt aligned. So I was there for 5 years and then I wanted a different challenge. So I started working for Guayaki about a year ago. And that's when I knew I'd found, not only my purpose, but my home culturally. One good thing about taking a really long time to find my purpose is that I'm so grateful to be here. And that's a really good place to be.
Yeah. Can you maybe share why this sort of role why it feels like such a good fit, why it's meaningful for you?
Sure. Well, some of it is just instinctual. I mean, it's the whole thing. I've studied personal development for so long, and I knew I always wanted to do something in regards to helping the environment, which is why I was in environmental conservation for nonprofits and environmental consulting for a while. But it just didn't feel like I was really making an impact at the end of the day. It's like, what difference am I making? Am I just pushing papers around? Mm-hmm. And sustainability, and especially with food, it's so tangible. And so part of it is just, being able to work with a very tangible product like food. And then part of it is just the people at Guayaki. It's just such a great fit.
That's awesome to hear. That's so great.
Yeah.
Curious, what would you like to share with our listeners about Guayaki?
Oh, wow. Well, I'd say the first thing to know about Guayaki is that it started from a deep desire to connect over sharing a gourd of yerba mate. And so because of that, Guayaki is infused with a lot of love. We hug a lot. And
yes.
It's great. We gather everyone. We have employees in North America and South America. We're all over the map. And we come together twice a year. We share information, ideas. We have women's and gourd circles. We have women's and men's gourd circles. And, when we come together, magic happens. There's a lot of creativity and innovation. And it's pretty special. And it's also, because Guayaki allows such freedom and trust that this can even occur. And I guess the second thing about Guayaki that is pretty significant is just that they're committed to changing the world on such a deep level. And so Guayaki produces organic and fair trade yerba mate beverages, but the company's mission reads more like a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So our mission is to steward and restore 200,000 acres of South American Atlantic rainforest and create 1,000 living wage jobs by 2020.
Wow.
And so we have this broader focus to regenerate life. Our tagline has come to life. And so whether it's, the rainforest or culture and livelihoods of the indigenous communities and the small farmers who grow the yerba mate and steward the forest, and, also just regenerating our customers and showing up in such a way that, that is fostering that. So, yeah, I'd say those are two things that
that's beautiful.
I think you should know when you're reaching for something to drink. Know what you're getting.
I love that. Yeah, Guayaki has long been on my radar. I remember you guys have your drinks at so many events that I've been at, and I was just up in Victoria, Canada with a company called Animiki, and we were all enjoying some Guayaki there. So it was funny. It was fun to have that in that moment. And so you just mentioned some of the indigenous producers and growers. And, I know that you recently actually journeyed to South America and visited with a lot of those folks and others in the Guayaki circle. And I'm just wondering if you could perhaps share with our listeners maybe some of the intentions that you brought to that journey, and maybe what are some of the most significant takeaways or stories or lessons or opportunities, or what did you kind of take with you?
Sure. Well, I traveled for 3 weeks, and I went to Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil, and we sourced yerba mate from those 3 countries. And one of my intentions was I knew it would be a source of inspiration, but I also had an intention to witness the entire supply web and form a holistic picture of our impact, from our operations and all our stakeholders and the regional economy and political context and the history, the colonization history.
I have to pause and just underscore your choice of words there and intentionality, even in how you're describing it as the supply web. I don't hear often people use supply web or supply stream, and I think that's really cool that you use that term instead of supply chain. I know our friends at Terra Genesis International often will bring a lot of intentionality to that phrase as well, because it's kind of like, get rid of the chains, and it actually really is exactly as you described, like a web or a stream. So sorry to interrupt the flow.
No, it's good. No, good thought. Absolutely. So I got to experience the yerba mate culture, which has been alive in these countries for over 200 years. And I also got to bond with our team in South America. We have over 15 employees there. And we have this impressive team of project leaders who are the main contacts for the indigenous community. And these folks are local, very bright, they're committed to helping these communities. And in Paraguay, where we've been working for the longest with the Ache, the relationship is like family. It's pretty extraordinary. Mm. And something else that struck me was how each indigenous community is really different, and they're shaped by their own colonization history and their language and their governance and leadership structures. I mean, some had evangelical churches and some had prayer huts, that allowed any spiritual practice. Mm-hmm. And then what, notable, even though they were all different, they all had this same sense of living between worlds. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe something a little more romantic, but they are sort of, straddling the old and the new worlds. And they've retained old customs, like many of the communities will split the proceeds among all the families from the sale of yerba mate. Mm. And then they have newer customs, like they're all wearing hand-me-down Western clothing. So you see these shirts that say like Tommy Hilfiger. It's just such an interesting place for them to be, right now.
Yeah. And maybe what are one or two stories from some of the different perspectives of the people that you encountered that you feel sort of helps to form the mosaic that forms the larger impact narrative of Guayaki and how Guayaki is impacting these people in their lives, in their community, in their place?
Well, I don't want to give the impression that Guayaki is a savior and the one doing the empowering. The people are already empowered. And Guayaki, if we can help remove barriers for them and they have the strength to shine and take action in their life and their community, then that's a beautiful synergy that impacts both of us. There's a woman leader with the Ache community named Margarita, and her story is one of both extreme tragedy and resilience. So when the colonialists wanted to move her community from their land in Paraguay, they killed her family, took possession of her home, and enslaved her as a maid and forced her to speak Spanish. And then she escaped later on and worked to reshape her community and be a leader and a real model of resilience to the world. I mean, right now, more than ever, we need leaders who are resilient. And so, for her community, yes, Guayaki has worked really closely with them, and we've provided a fair trade premium, and this is allowing them to, build schools and grow a garden to feed themselves and become resilient. But at the same time, when we visit them, we are impacted. So I was really impacted by Margarita, by her strength. And I was also really impacted by the heart of this community. My favorite memory of the trip was this loving welcome we received by the Ache children. We had a caravan of 5 cars we'd been driving to for 12 hours, and they waited up for us. We arrived at like 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. And they were all gathered, and we were driving through this gate, and they were smiling and shouting, "Hola, hola!" And they were reaching out their hands to touch. We rolled down the windows. They reached out to touch our hands, got out of the car, and they just were hugging us and smiling and just wanted to touch us. And oh my God, I was crying. I've never felt so much love. So yeah, now tell me who's doing the impact here, right? So that was one great story, and definitely one of my favorite memories. And then I'd say the other thing that was just so striking was the rainforest in Brazil. There's a community we work with, the Marecas, and there's 42,000 acres with beautiful old trees. It's so dense, it's hard to find the yerba mate trees to harvest them, and these trees grow naturally under the canopy. Mm-hmm. And surrounding their land used to be the rest of the South American Atlantic rainforest, which is one of the most diverse biomes in the world. It's now 90% deforested.
Oh, God.
So when I visited, you have to go and just see it really to describe it. When I visited them, I drove through this endless sea of agricultural fields, mostly GMO soy and timber. And we're driving on these 2-lane roads. There's just a continual parade of trucks hauling away these resources. And of course, Brazil's economy is booming, and, they're happy about this, but it's going to come to a screeching halt when the soil is dead and it can't support these degenerative agriculture industries.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we have all the knowledge and technology we need right now to prevent this from happening, but we don't have the collective will yet. So yeah, you've got to go down and see it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and wow, I mean those stories are just so moving on a lot of levels. It's almost hard to even like fully take it in. I mean, between what Margarita has gone through, and I'm sure that's not a one-time thing, and also just hearing the resilience and how that partnership is happening with Guayaki. And I really appreciate the perspective that you and the Guayaki team brings to being really intentional with viewing it not as a savior thing, and actually like feeling the reciprocity in that mix. And I'm curious, with the intentions that you brought to that journey, in reflecting back now, since you've returned stateside, curious, how does it all sort of tie back into Guayaki and the larger ecosystem of which you're a part? I know in the past you had mentioned to me there's initiatives organizing with other companies that are sourcing from indigenous producers, companies with a focus on regenerative agriculture and climate action, B Corps. Curious how the experience is from the supply web to the individual interactions with folks to the ecological restoration, how that's all coming together.
Good question. We're trying to grow the collective will, right, within this larger network of actors. And we have a lot of partnerships going on. We're very involved with the Climate Collaborative, the Sustainable Food Trade Association, OSC2, B Corp, of course. We were co-founding B Corp member over 10 years ago, and keep trying to push that movement. And then even, our certifying organizations are partners. I mean, the Non-GMO Project and the Fair for Life, which is our fair trade certifier, CCOF for organic, conscious circles and green business. And we've been partnered with universities. So we can't do it alone, right? I mean, it's all about partnerships for sure.
Absolutely. And maybe if you, it's okay if not, but if you want to maybe like dive into or sort of unpack like any one of those partnerships that you're really excited about, just to kind of like give listeners a glimpse into that space. Is there one?
Sure. Well, I think I'm probably really passionate about the Climate Collaborative just because I'm passionate about climate action in general and see it as one of our most important issues of our generation. So what I like about the Climate Collaborative is it's focused on solutions and thinking, sort of taking Paul Hawkins' project drawdown perspective. Let's focus on solutions and talk about what we can do. And so Climate Collaborative is providing this framework for companies to pledge improvement in 9 different focus areas. Regenerative agriculture is one, and food waste, and no deforestation and transportation. And so they're making it very tangible for companies. And so I have a lot of partnerships going on. One of them is a working group with B Corp, and just trying to take those of us who have done, full analyses of our greenhouse gas inventories and have been in this space a bit, and, how can we make it more tangible for other companies that are just starting, they're just on the first stage and don't even really understand what actions they can take. So I think that's one that I'm passionate about helping promote and do some support for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And just if there are any companies out there kind of listening that are interested in learning more about that and getting involved or supporting, what are maybe a few actions they could take?
Yeah, well, I would say go to Climate Collaborative and sign up. It's free, and you can do pledges. And then there are so many free calculators out there. So just the first step, just taking your PG&E bill or whatever your utility company is, your energy bill, and just starting to convert that into greenhouse gas emissions. And, that's just a really basic step one you can do by just plugging it into a free online calculator. Just starting there, you know?
Yeah. For the Climate Collaborative, I believe the website is just climatecollaborative.com for our listeners. So you can go check that out, and we can link to that in the show notes. But I'm feeling the passion, obviously, that is completely in line with everything that you've shared so far in terms of your early roots in ecological restoration and linking that with effective leaders in the business community, and just really tapping into a network of support, either personally or professionally or both. What is it that you would like to share with a world that is really in need of hope and solutions?
Yeah, we are in need of hope and solutions. There's so many stories of good people doing good things. That's one of the reasons why Guayaki started Come to Life Productions recently. It's an arm of Guayaki that produces music events and videos, and that spreads the message of activists, musicians, and artists doing extraordinary and really inspiring work. But we're just one of the businesses following the path of doing good. There's a lot of individuals as well following this calling, more than ever so before. So, I would say, God, listen to them. Ignore the media. Ignore the people with messages of gloom and hate. They're just hurting. We've really destroyed things, and it's easy to be hurting right now. But reacting from that sense of being damaged just keeps us down. So we have to rise up as if our life depended on it, and focus on the good we want to see. And above all else, believe in it in a way that fills you with emotion. That's the way we're going to manifest the world we want.
Yes. So resonant with that. I'm excited to learn about the Come to Life productions that you mentioned. I'm really curious because I just, in a past life, was deeply engaged in music and studio recording and all of that. And just constantly, I've been really blown away when I see leaders in the next economy approach the space from this place of just deep vulnerability and fun, and lead with song, and bring that language of love and emotion into the mix of the work. It just feels really, really powerful.
Yeah, check it out, Guayaki.com. We just launched it, so you'll get to see some of the musicians. And it's all Guayaki. It's the beverages, but it's really about spreading this message of regeneration and connecting. And I mean, that's really at the heart of sharing a gourd of your mate. So it's just more of the same. So yeah, happy to be doing that.
Love that. Outside of Guayaki and this work, what are some of the models or solutions or individuals that you're looking to for inspiration right now?
Well, you inspire me, Andrew. When I met you, I was like, okay, this guy is so cool. Definitely have to sit down and as you said, break bread with this guy. So, the work you guys are doing at Lift Economy, just that whole paradigm, I love that. I'm also really inspired by the living system principles and the regeneration paradigm right now, and attracted to people who are speaking their truth without falling victim to hate and fear. I'm inspired by people working to change the world and not just talk about it academically. Oh my gosh, sustainability professionals, a lot of talking, a lot of conferences. We got to make it happen. Yes. So inspired by people who are making it happen. And these are the brave change makers. They're showing us what to do to co-create a better world. So really inspired by those people.
Amen, sister. And
Amen.
Thank you for what you shared. That's really touching. I appreciate that. And mutually. Yeah. So maybe just, I'm conscious that, taking time out of your busy day, and really appreciate you taking the time today. Maybe just one or two more questions. I'm curious how our listeners can support you and these intentions that you're holding.
Come to life. God says it. Come to life. Everyone has a right to feel fully alive and passionate. And, I'd say to your listeners, do whatever it takes to find your purpose. Just fall in love with nature and people and form small groups of support to quadruple your effort. and, really be open to changing what you think you know. So, yeah, come to life.
God, that feels so important. And come both of those things together and separately, like being open to questioning what we know. It feels like it's so dangerous. so often when we feel like, right? When we feel like we know so much about a thing, and like, I feel like that's kind of in a big meta sense. It's like we feel like we know so much about the world and spaces, and they wind up having all these unintended consequences because we're not coming from that place of beginner's mind and humility and just openness and appreciate nature.
Yeah. No, the regenerative paradigm is really all about sort of repatterning your thinking, and our thinking and our mindset is what's gotten us into this mess that we're in, with the global problems. And so, yeah, reshaping our perspective and being open and just being willing to question and shine the light back on ourselves. That's what I'm trying for.
I love that invitation for reflection. It's so...
There you go. I invite you and your listeners. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. And I like in the come to life bit too. I'm just, and there's a band called Mom Muse, just thinking of the music again. Have you heard of Mom Muse by chance?
I have. I've seen Mom Muse in Sebastopol.
Yes. Oh my God. They have this song that they recently recorded on the new album with the Thrive East Bay Choir, whom I also adore. And there's a song, the song is called We Shall Be Known. And there's just a line in there that it's just says, "It is time now. It is time now that we thrive." And I love it.
I love it. Oh, I'll definitely have to download that song.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I might have to include that link in the show notes too, just to share that out with the world. It was so, yeah, even just on a recent journey up north to Canada that I mentioned, I was just listening to that song and it was just like healing me. I just, not knowing why, just like, it feels vulnerable to say this on the show, but I just like burst into tears, like no idea why. I'm just like, I just had to let something go. And that song just like brought it out. And so, yes, like there's this healing to thriving, and even if we're not necessarily sure what joy looks like right off the bat, just maybe feeling into relief. And I just felt that like, went through, relief in that moment, and the other line in that song is, "We shall be known by the company we keep." And so I feel that, and I feel honored to tend these fires collectively. And so, yeah, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show, and maybe if there's any, just give you the floor, if there's any sort of final thoughts or reflections that you'd love to share before we wrap.
No, just that it was such an honor to talk to you, and thank you so much for doing the work that you're doing and for inviting me. And thank you to all of your listeners. We're all in it together.
Yeah. Thank you, Gretchen. This was really fun, and looking forward to seeing you in Sebastopol in the coming weeks.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward.
Next Economy Now is a production of Lift Economy. Lift is an impact consulting firm whose mission is to create, model, and share a locally self-reliant economy that works for the benefit of all life. To listen to all our past episodes or to share your thoughts about the show with us, visit www.lifteconomy.com/podcast. That's LIFT economy.com/podcast. You can also subscribe to this podcast through iTunes, Overcast, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please take a moment to rate us on iTunes. It's really very helpful in allowing these ideas to reach a wider audience. Once again, thanks for listening.